So I just want to share with you something that we need to have, context of what's going on. And more about this on Shabbos. Rabbi Grossman talks about this more detail a little bit. It's not a long speech, but some very powerful sources. Something we need to understand, as we've been saying lately, that it's a religious war. Every terrorist that Ahmad al-Islam killed, butchered, I don't want to use more description, our people, Allah Akbar was on his lips. If you read and listen to the interrogation, the results, or even the notes that the Arab leaders gave to the terrorists, this is all a religious war from the get-go and always has been. Now the question is this, a very important thing to understand. Islam is rooted in the Torah, so is Christianity. They saw themselves, both Yoshke and Muhammad, as the successors to Moses, and they cannot contradict a single thing it says in the Torah. So that's why Christian missionaries, they go to great lengths to prove that Jesus, who we call him Yoshke, was prophesied in our Torah, because if he's not, the whole Christianity has absolutely no leg to stand on, nothing. I was involved for years, and still am to some degree, in rescuing Jews from missionaries, and there's a number of them here in Hampstead, caught up in Jews for Jesus. They've packaged it to make it look very Jewish and so on. Anyway, they're very clever and very seductive, and you'd be shocked at how many Jews are ensnared. But it's all they have to prove from our Torah, that our Torah prophesizes the New Testament and the Trinity and everything that they say. Now, just by the way, I should tell you, it's a really an amazing thing. If you look at their proofs, you don't have to be a genius to expose them. Either it's a mistranslation, or the whole context, it just doesn't fit with the time. They're so easy to disprove. How does it last so long? And brilliant people. How has it endured for thousands of years? It's all based on our Torah. So there's it's an incredible thing. It's a famous piece of the Rambam, Maimonides. Maimonides wrote the classic work of Jewish law, the Mishnah Torah. It's unparalleled. The end of it, the laws of Mashiach. What I'm going to tell you now was for centuries censored. We took it out because it's very offensive. Now in the new editions, it's in. What does it say? The end of his work. He talks about the laws, how to recognize Mashiach. Who is he? What's he going to do? So he talks about Yoshke and Muhammad. He calls Yoshke vulgar, that's actually quoting from the book of Daniel. And Muhammad, the madman. He was an epileptic. So he says they're prophesied in the Torah, the book of Daniel. They will rise up from amongst you and so on. Why is God doing this? So he says, these religions are rooted in the Torah. Thanks to them, the idea of a God, an afterlife, a messianic era, mitzvahs have become universal. They've conquered the world, basically. Between Christianity and Islam, this language. Now, before them, it was a pagan world. They served all kinds of gods. There's no hereafter. You appease the god, you sacrifice your children, all kinds of crazy stuff. They brought monotheism, a corrupted version. They brought monotheism. And here the word that Maimonides says, it's all to prepare the world for Mashiach. The language is there. And when the real Mashiach comes and the Jewish people rise to their great mission to be a light unto the nations, there's already a language. The world, so that's what it is. And we'll align it, we'll heal it, we'll tweak it. But the language is there. And it's a fundamental revolution, monotheism, that Yoshke and Muhammad brought by force and brought terrible destruction.
Yoshke is not a monotheistic religion, no?
Catholicism is not so much, but the other ones all are. And even Catholicism, they do gymnastics, intellectual it's one God, three. It's not simple. But certainly commandments and afterlife, messianic era, we're working towards. Just to explain, before Avraham, and therefore these religions that were spawned, life was cyclical. It's just a question, isn't not linear. We're not progressing towards some kind of utopia. It's satisfying nature. It's the law of the jungle, and you're just circular. The idea of a progression, we're supposed to fix the world and work towards some utopia. It's a revolution of monotheism, which they also took, corrupted. So I'm just saying the Rambam, the uncensored Rambam, prepares the world, which I'm explaining why. If you look, it was involved in this. The proofs that they bring from the Torah to Christianity are so flimsy. So outright mistranslations or context. Why does it endure? The Eibusher keeps it going because it's part of his plan to ready the world when Mashiach comes. The language is there. And likewise Islam. But the question now is, they cannot contradict anything that says in the Torah. So how do they explain that Israel belongs to them? The Torah is black and white, belongs to Yitzchak. And they have a very clear answer. They say like this, Avram wanted to go to Ishmael. Hashem said, no, it goes to Yitzchak. But our father Abraham wanted Ishmael. And therefore, if Yitzchak does not live up to the covenant, by default it goes to the older brother, which was the original plan. Now how were they to say that we defaulted? They have many proofs. I'll say two. This is hard to hear, but this is the reality, and I hope we're waking up. Their main proof is, you don't consider the land to be holy, you give it to us. Period. And even crazier, what's more holy to you, you surrender, run to give it to us, beg us to take it. So we think we're making painful concessions for peace. In their view, not only is it weakness, they look at this with derision and scorn. You're weak. That's one issue. The Arab world only respects strength. Most of the world does, but certainly the Arab world. So weakness just invites aggression. So in addition to that, they're saying, oh, you've just given us our justification. We're right. This is not yours. You've walked away from this. You don't believe it's holy and that it's yours. And Rebbe was screaming this, at every concession, every war that's not finished till the end, it's just proof positive to them, we don't belong. As this Hamas representative said, you should watch the clip. He said, we're just going to keep on hammering away until they say this is just not worth it. How many Jews have to die for this? And then he said, Jews have no ideology. I'm quoting him, they have no ideology. To listen to your enemy, he tells you in your face what he sees. What's happening now, Baruch Hashem, is, we hope this is the end of Golus, that we are discovering it and we're embracing our roots. You see, they're branches of us. So if we embrace our roots, they will naturally heal. Because they're rooted there. They have no choice. There's no choice by their own admission. So we've abandoned our roots. We're pretending like everybody else. So this whole thing. But if we reclaim it, Christianity, Islam, I just tell you now that you saw the clip from Rabbi Grossman. It's a well-known thing from Rabbi Chaim Vital. The final battle will be with Yishmael. The battle with Esav, which is Germany, Western world, Christianity, Edom, that's over. We're not fighting Christianity anymore. There's no more crusades. They've apologized. They've officially retracted from the Jews killed the Messiah. Christianity is basically, over. At its core, war with Judaism. That war is over. The final battle is the very beginning. Our very beginning is Avraham and Yishmael. The beginning is wedged in the end. The beginning of history comes out at the end. That's the final war right now. And it will be one spiritually, first and foremost, and then the military to back it up. And that's the battle which therefore we're all on the front lines. We're all on the front lines because it's a spiritual battle. The tefillin we put on, the davening that we do, the achdus, the unity, we can only have unity if it's spiritual, because physically we're very different. But if it's a neshama thing, we're united. That's our strength. at the risk of, again, this is so touchy because there's so much emotion in what I'm going to say with you now, and like for many people I'm going to say now is sacrilegious. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but you have to see the position. And there are proofs again, like that the Jews, these are the words, abrogated the covenant. You did not come back here in fulfillment of the biblical prophecy. You're not saying that. You treat the land like dirt because you give it to us, not like the sacred land that God gave you. Again, it's so shocking, and I've told the story, it's public, that after 1967, Israel offered back the Kotel, everything. One thing they wouldn't give was the Golan Heights, because that was suicide. The Arabs, and they told the State Department, this is the New York Times, it was published 20 years after the war, all the documents became declassified, so the whole world could see it. The Arabs thought it was a ruse. It's impossible. You won the war. You're saying, I'm sorry, please take it back. Then, so Israel said, no, we mean it, please take it back. So it was a big miracle. They were humiliated, and they said, we want everything or nothing. We're not going to give the Golan, so we kept it. But what did we do? We called it occupied. We redrew our map, but we showed it's not really ours, occupied. That's when the Arabs started to realize for sure they don't believe they belong here. And that's what fermented right in 67, after that victory, a whole new tactic. Eat away at them, intifada, eat away at them, eat away at them. A war, another war, another war. So the other thing I'm going to say is this, so people, it's like the elephant in the room. I'll tell you, I got an email last week. I don't mind this to be on the thing. Somebody from MTC says to me, I'm not going to tell you it was, but why in MTC they say a prayer for the soldiers, they don't say a prayer for Medinat Yisrael. So I wrote back an email, which he sent. I can send it to you. It's good to have in writing. And just the gist of it is, the claim that we started 75 years ago, that's the problem. They were there before. That's part of their argument. You say this is a new state. You're not coming back as it belongs to you, Israel. So, hey, we were there first. You stole it from us. That whole thing is the fire for war. No, it may be marketing, but marketing is important. Just to give you an example, when the Jews came back after the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash, they were in exile, gone. They came back. We don't even know the date. We don't make this as a date. Because it was always ours. We never, if you were there, not there, it's ours. It's 4,000 years, not 75 years. 3,000 since the Torah was given, 4,000 since this week's parasha Hashem spoke to Avraham. And then they say, look at the national anthem. You're embarrassed with God. You can't put God in your anthem. God bless America. They're not embarrassed. Australia's not. England's not. Israel can't. And they can't put it in the Constitution. There's a whole debate there. Yes, God, no God. Then was no God. Okay, I understand them. No one's have any complaints to what the founders of the state did. And they had tremendous mesiras nefesh, and they meant well. But that's not the point here. The point is how the Arab looks at this. This is not the biblical return of the Jewish people to their homeland. So no one's on a campaign not to sing it, but you have to understand. My point in my email was anti-Israel. What? Chabad? Either you're appallingly ignorant or this is malicious. You have to understand this is because out of love. There's no one that serves Israel like Chabad does. First of all, everybody else, many in the IDF, and in every other way is like Zakah, which is not Chabad. But I'm just saying, Chabad houses all over, but Gashmis and Baruchnis for every Jew. The Rebbe sent waves of Chassidim on Aliyah. I mean, it just have to stop with the Rebbe in Israel, the Lubavitch in Israel. But I'm just saying, this was the elephant in the room that nobody wanted to talk about. But really, today, what happened 2 weeks ago is compelling the discussion. Why Israel? Why are we here? Why are we dying for this? Zionism began with the possibility of Uganda. Somewhere in Africa, we have geniuses. We'll go to Antarctica. Antarctica will make it a homeland. It's got to be here. The flashpoint of the world. And all the lives, the thousands of lives. Why? It doesn't come down to because Hashem gave it. Then there's no point in it all. And here's the Pella that Rabbi insisted. Told Bibi, say the truth. It's light. They have no basis. Not religiously, it's all based in the Bible. Not historically, it's not saying it's a Palestinian people. It's a myth. It is a total myth. Forget religion. They're the darlings of the world. The world pours in millions. There's no cause in the world, in history, that ever got such attention. And it's not even a real cause. They're Jordanians and Egyptians for the most part. It's such a bluff. Bluff. So how do you deal with bluff? Turn the light on. It's like the emes. And you back it up. It's all that's needed today is courage, emes, and the goal is in a second. In a second. I believe we're the Achtus. Achtus. And it's happening. We paid a big price. But we cannot allow this price to just, dissipate and back to the old, same old. Chas v'shalom. We have to rise collectively, individually from this. He says, Rabbi Grossman, he says, what happened? It's not logical. It's not logical. Israel, the greatest technology in minutes, hundreds, just like shchita, slaughter. They still haven't identified many bodies. It's just burnt beyond the no DNA. Rahman litzlan is beyond the unthinkable. So we all have the obligation, I'm just saying, not to let this just somehow. But there's a great wave of teshuvah, and we're all part of it. I'm telling you, he feels, Rabbi Grossman feels, he says, Mashiach, any moment, but that's just his feeling. I'm just quoting him. You saw it. That Nisan, the next 6 months will be a big challenge. Nisan will be the big redemption. Alavites, it's earlier. Anyway, what we want to learn.
Could you send that to all of us on the chat?
Pardon? It's in Hebrew, but I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I'll post it on this chat.
Please.
Yeah, you can follow it. You'll be sure you can follow it. And I wanted, with today's parsha, and that was just another minute, just today's parsha, I sent you, here's the gist of it. Hashem promises at Yisrael to Avraham, in 2 places he says, I will give you. And in 1 place he says, I gave it. So it's future or is it present? So the bottom line is, okay, we'll have to deal with it next week because it's really important. There is the conquest of Israel. There's that dimension, the conquering. And then there's that it's our essential inheritance. The conquest part, that can be temporary, and that's future. The conquest part. But the possession part is eternal. We'll see, it's fascinating in the halacha, the difference between them. What Yeshua did, he conquered. But Ezra, when they came back a second time, it wasn't through conquering, it was through establishing their essential ownership that always was. And we'll look at that. There's 2 dimensions, therefore. There's the military component that's necessary, but then there's the inheritance, which is the core of it. And likewise, at a personal level, there's I am a Jew, and that's not negotiable. And then there's the fights, internal conquering. We need to fight. The Yetzirah, we lose, we win. It's up and down, it fluctuates. We're not always on top of the game. But we're sure of victory if we always draw on who I am. Then, if not today, tomorrow, the victory militarily will be there. So the parallel to Israel, in more detail, Mitzvah Hashem, in our own relationship with Hashem, because we're all called Hashem's land of desire. Every Yid is Eretz Yisrael. I once saw someone, I have to look at it again, that the shape of the biblical boundaries is a face. We're the face of the world, the head of the world. Literally, it's like can outline the profile of a face, the biblical borders. So Israel, the physical Israel, is an embodiment of every Jew, every Yid. And like a Jew has a body and a soul, the land is a body and a soul. That's all one. And all of the dimensions that we're talking about now, the conquest, the inheritance, as I just mentioned, this exists within us. I am Jewish, not negotiable. Then there's the battles I need to fight. Okay, Yid.